Hello, this is a video review of a Yamaha R125, which I've owned for a year and a half now, I think. So I've done quite a few miles on it. 9,500 miles I've travelled. That's been a mixture of just riding about and commuting and various other stuff, but most of it's commuting. I've done it in all weathers, ridden rain, sleet, sun and snow and everything, but in between really. Apart from obviously very heavy stuff, because that's just not possible on their semi-slick tyres. But yeah, it's been a really good bike. Because I've had it for so long, I kind of wanted to do a review where I'd talk about the bike more as an owner, because I've noticed there's quite a few videos on YouTube about people who have bought it, owned it for a week or whatever, but there's no one that's had it for a long time. And because I've owned it for a reasonable amount of time, I think I've got quite a lot to say about it. So basically, first of all, the styling, it looks great from any angle. It really does look like a big bike. I mean, I know lots of people say that's just something, and it's actually small and skinny, but when you park it on a car park, well, bike park next to everybody else's bikes, it does blend in, it looks good. And people say, oh, is that an R6, when people don't know anything about bikes. And that's quite a good feeling, particularly when you're young, when you're 17 and someone says, is that an R6? It feels pretty good. I mean, I pulled up at you know, the town and saw a couple of my mates, and I managed to say, someone said, how fast does it go? And I said 180, and they believed me. Obviously they don't know anything about bikes, but that's kind of the impression it gives with it looking this good, so that's a big plus. A lot of people say about the speed. This I've had up to 84 miles an hour. That is absolutely flat. When you're tucked, your head's on the tank, no wind, level ground, and that's bouncing off the rev limiter, so it won't go any faster than that. So if you buy one of these bikes and you're thinking it will go faster because you've read somewhere on the internet, that's what I've had it up to, reading on the speedo, 84 miles an hour, and that's like the best conditions. Likelihood it is you'll probably get about 73. So that's pretty much everywhere. 73 miles an hour, you can do it on the dual carriageway and whatever, but that's kind of ringing it out. I mean, acceleration is pretty good because obviously it's a 4-stroke 125, but I've outrun one of my mates who's like in a 1.6 Astra, pulling her out of college, and for up to about 50 miles an hour this had him. It was quicker, but obviously past that you've got nothing. It's past 60 miles an hour, it's pretty much out of breath. But no, it's a good bike. Handling wise, obviously I'm no Valentino Rossi, but I think it handles pretty good, apart from the tyres are pretty awful. They're Michelin Pilot Sports or something, I can't remember what they're exactly called, but they're pretty terrible in my opinion, particularly in the wet. You just have no feel. I mean, I've had the back end slide out in heavy wet weather, and that wasn't fun at all. And obviously with a 125 you haven't got any power. I mean, that was me riding sensibly as well, so that's kind of gives you an idea of how little traction you have. So I'd recommend changing those tyres. I haven't, I've been lazy and gone with the same make, which is probably a bit stupid, but I'm just coming up to, I need to change my front tyre, but because I've got still some tread on the back, I'm not sure whether to change the brake, because I only use it as a nice weather bike now, so I'm not sure about that. But pillion use, other people say that it's too slow, and yeah, it is pretty slow, I would say. But round town, there's plenty enough go in it. You'll be able to travel around pretty easily with someone on the back. It's kind of bouncy. If you pull out from a roundabout quite quickly with someone on the back, the front wheel will come off the floor, which is quite funny. But when you're going down the dual carriageway or something, you have literally no speed. You probably manage about 65 with someone on the back, and that's if they're a light friend as well. If they're heavy, you've probably had it. I haven't had anyone on the back that's passed about 12 stone, so I wouldn't know, but that's how it is really. What else is there? I passed my test on it, so if you live in the UK, I did my module 1 and module 2 on it. And Module 2 is fine because it's just riding on the road, so that is pretty much okay. But Module 1, this bike you'll probably struggle on, because I failed it the first time, and I'm not just like making excuses, but it generally is a bad bike to do your first part of your test on, because full lock isn't enough. I mean, you probably won't get the same impression from it here, but if I put full lock on, that isn't enough to get round some of the tight corners, because you have to do a figure of 8 on the test, and I only managed it because I went massively wide on my second attempt, and the instructor luckily said that was okay, but my first attempt it was just too hard. And you have to do a U-turn in the road which is like within 7 meters width, and this you have to more or less ride the whole bike, ride the U-turn with full lock on the whole way to be able to do that, so that was quite tricky, but I managed it. But the CBR 125 apparently is a lot easier to pass your test on, so maybe if you've got a mate that's got one of them, you could borrow it for the test or hire one or something, I don't know, but it's a lot easier than this, but it is doable, so that's good. I've been on a bike trip with my mate down to Cornwall. On it I've had the tent, I've had panniers on it, so I've had tent, sleeping bag, stove and clothes on the back of this, believe it or not. I'll probably show a photo of it, of what it looked like. It was quite funny, but I managed to put all that stuff on this bike and go all the way down there, and it stood up to the test pretty well. I managed to scuff the back slightly, I don't know if that's coming up, but that was just the panniers on the back, but it was such a laugh. And although my mate's got an FZR 400, so obviously a lot quicker bike, and this was on bouncing off the rev limiter the whole way, managed it fine. In fact, that's more or less how I've ridden it since I've had it, bouncing off the rev limiter all the way, and it still goes absolutely fine, no problems at all. Nothing on this bike's gone wrong that I can think of, because I had a derby sender before and loads of bits and bobs fell off, and I bought that new, and this is second hand, and this is still going strong. Another thing about fuel economy, I've had 100 miles to the gallon out of this. Well, I worked out it was 99.8, so if fuel's an issue, definitely consider getting one of these, because I mean you can't really get much better than that anywhere in the motoring world, unless you want to go for some strange scooter, but you know, 100 miles to gallon, you can't really argue with that. That's pretty good. And overall it's just a brilliant bike. If you take a look at the rev counter, you have the big large rev counter with the small digital speedo, which I'll just switch on. Gives good clear information of the bike, but of course, hang on a sec, I'll just there you go. You also, when you turn the ignition, you get the sports bike style feel with the rev counter going up and down. I'll just start it. You get a fuel gauge as well, which is nice, and that's it really. You don't get a temperature gauge though, so that's one downside. A lot of people say it does sound a bit like a tractor on Tickover, and it probably does on this camera as well, which that's one not so good thing, although a lot of people buy aftermarket exhausts. Scorpion, I think, do quite a good one, stainless steel exhaust pipe with you can get carbon tips and stuff to make it look a bit nicer, and that makes it sound really beastie, but I didn't really want to go spending too much money and then having a bike that only does 83 miles an hour or 84 miles an hour top speed, and having it sounding like it will do a lot more than that, so I didn't really want to pretend, so I left it as that. It doesn't sound too bad when you give it a bit of revs though. I mean, that's not too bad. It does sound quite good when you get it going, which is quite impressive to some people, particularly when if you're my age. I'm 18 now, and you're with your friends and you pull away and it sounds like that. People think that's pretty cool, which is a nice touch. All I've done to it personally, I'll just switch this off, is I fitted a tail tidy. That's the only thing, because the standard one is like hideous looking. It's huge, long, comes down all the way down to about here. I don't know So that just looks terrible, and I don't know why Yamaha did that, but I just thought that needs to go and change it to that one, and that looks a lot nicer. I think it's an Evotech one, which, yeah, that I'd recommend getting that. And as for other extras, I haven't done anything. A lot of people get a double bubble screen at the front, which looks quite nice, but I think it doesn't look too bad as it is. And my mate had a Honda CBR 125. That's my alarm. I didn't fit that, the owner before did. But my mate has a Honda CBR 125, and he has a Micron stainless steel exhaust pipe on that, and that gives it a little bit more performance, but we'd say probably these are identical top speeds pretty much. I think he probably has a very, very, very slight advantage at the very top end, but that's really pushing it. And if he takes it off and puts his standard one on, this is quicker by a few miles an hour. So that's kind of the age-old argument. If you've got any friends with like RS 125s or something, they're going to cream you, because obviously it's 2-stroke and this is 4-stroke, but you know. And that's kind of my review really. I just wanted to tell everybody what it's like to own, and it's been good. Nothing's gone wrong. The only thing I've changed is the chain, and it's had a few obviously the services at the right intervals, and that's all I've got really to say. Good bike overall. Thank you for watching.